Greetings and greetings to all. Thank you for joining us again in this 5 element spiritual quest. My name is Master Abdullah Ingom. And today we're going back on topic. We're going back on topic on our three major forces of society that rule humanity, which are culture, religion, and government. But today we're going to focus on government. We're going to focus on government corruptions, government's injusticeness toward the people, and government criminality toward humanity. And to do that, we're going to go to the foundation of government, which is intellectualism. Intellectualism is the foundation of government. Government is founded based on intellectualism, and government function based on the framework of intellectualism. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to the scripture of intellectualism, which is the dictionary. The dictionary is the scripture of intellectualism, just as religion have their own scriptures that are the guideline to understand the religion itself. It's the same with intellectualism. Intellectualism have its own scripture, which is the dictionary, that give definition on words. There are many dictionaries, just like religion. We have many scriptures representing within one religion. Let's say Christianity. We have many different Bibles, and when I say different, it's different. We have the Mormon Bible, we have King James. There are many other versions also represent the same religion. It's the same thing with intellectualism. There are many types of dictionary, English dictionary. We have the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, American Heritage Dictionary, Oxford Dictionary, and there are a bunch of them, all for the same language. And they are all different, because you will see one word definition in one dictionary, which is entirely different definition in another dictionary. So, however, we're going to go through these dictionaries on a spiritual point of view to reveal what is hidden. And when you go through this dictionary on a spiritual point of view, that's where you will see the fallacy of intellectualism itself. So what we're going to do, we're going to start our analogy on the definition of the biblical Ten Commandments. That's where we're going to start our analogy, and we take it from there. Okay, the Ten Commandments. Let's see the word commandment, the definition of commandments. Okay, commands, commanding, and commandments. Definition, first definition, to direct on authority. First definition, to direct on authority. The first definition. Meaning, example, you give an example, commanding adherence to the rules. Second definition, to have an order or exercise direct authority. To have or exercise direct authority. You give an example. The king knows how to command well, an example. Now let's go to the third definition. To give an order. You give an example. The master command and the servants obey. The definition of commandment. In another translation is an order given with no choice but to comply. That's a commandment. An order given with no choice but to comply. Definition of commandment. The slave master commands the slave against his will. The slave have no other choice but to comply. Commandments. But now, God doesn't command. God recommends. Because if God commanded humankind on anything against their will, humankind will have no choice but to comply. Because if the slave master can command the slave to act against their free will, God can do far greater what the slave master can do. God doesn't command. God recommends. Now, let's go to the definition of recommend. Dictionary, you can pick any dictionary. Recommend, recommending, recommendation. To present a worthy of acceptance. To present a worthy of acceptance. First definition. To make acceptable. Second definition. The third definition, to suggest an act or course of action. So the true definition of the Ten Commandments should be the 10 commandments of God, but not the 10 Commandments. Because God did not command humankind to comply against their free will. God recommended the 10 Commandments for humankind as acceptable, as a worthy of acceptance. God do not command mankind, He recommends mankind and give them free will to comply. As you can see, many who comply with God's commandment, very few. If God commanded humankind on the true definition of commandment, humankind would have no other choice but to comply. But that will violate the notion of free will. That's not the fellowship between God and human. The fellowship between God and humankind is a commandment. God recommends and gives humankind the free will to choose to obey or to disobey, which is the reality. All the God law are not obeyed by humans. That's a commandment. Commandment is obey with no choices. Disobey, there will be some consequences. As the master commands, the servant obey. As the slave master commands the slave against his free will, the slave obey. That's not God's fellowship with humankind. Humankind are given choice to obey or disobey, and that's the reality of life. So the 10 Commandments, technically, on its true definition, is not the 10 Commandments, but the 10 recommendation of God, but not the 10 Commandments of God. A dictionary error on the first definition. Let's go on another topic where the facade of or the fallacy of intellectualism on his first definitions, or misinterpretation or open for interpretations, is used to commit one of the greatest crimes in human history, all through the manipulation of intellectualism. And the story of Christopher Columbus is fit this analogy. Christopher Columbus is seen as one who discovered America. Let's go to the word discover. Discover, discovering. First definitions, the dictionary, to make known or visible. To make known or visible. Second definition, to obtain a sight or knowledge of for the first time. Now this is the definition of discovery. It says for the first time. How can then Christopher Columbus discover America, where there were already Americans? See? But this is the problem here, where intellectualism word can be misused. Because you cannot discover a site where they're already inhabited by your own kind. That cannot be discovering. So, but through the manipulation of intellectualism, Christopher Columbus and his crew, these are human demons. And what they did was they had to dehumanize their fellow human being through intellectualism by labeling them what? Savages. Because if they are labeled savages, they're no longer human, technically. So therefore the word discover can be applied there. And that's how this word can fit. Discover. Christopher Columbus discovered America. Not just that. These human demons committed. That's how they were able to commit the atrocity. One of the greatest atrocity humankind have committed toward their fellow human being. And that's not all. This great crime against humanity, through intellectualism, is manipulated. What was the shameful history of humankind, manipulated through intellectualism to make it honorable and be celebrated by Western nations, by America, as a national holiday. A shameful history manipulated through words to make it honorable and celebrated. A human demon through corruption of intellectualism made a heroes, even given a national holiday, Christopher Columbus Day, which is the great which is human is a mockery to humanity, which is a mockery to morality. The atrocity these human demons have inflicted to the Native Americans is not a myth, it's a reality. It's not far back that it can be doubted. It's an undoubtable reality. But yet, this atrocity is being celebrated as a national holiday. What a shame to humanity. What a shame to the human race for such a horrible act that should be forgotten. Every year is celebrated as a reminder, and only evil is laughing. Intellectualism is corrupted, is rotten to its core, just as religious scriptures, which the source, the criterion of all government, corruption within, and governments' injustices toward their people, and governments' failure on their responsibility toward humanity, and their criminality toward humanity, all come from the source, the dictionary, where words are manipulated, misinterpretations, open for interpretation, false definitions, just as scriptures. Religious scriptures create confusion within the religion itself, chaos between religions among themselves, and their criminality towards humanity is undoubtable. It's the same thing. You go to culture, it's the same thing. Some culture, they have to dehumanize their fellow living being, the same culture, same country. You see one culture label the other culture cockroaches, so they can exterminate them, they can annihilate them, they can crush them. To dehumanize their fellow human being is the same system, because the same entity that set up our cultural system is the same entity that set up our religious system as well as our governmental system. They all function the same way. Same tactics, in a different method. Culture, religion, and government. These are the three forces that rule humanity. They all corrupted, rotted to their core, which allowed them to do what they do to humanity, what they are doing to their people, and the things they can get away with, all based on what is written, Constitution, scriptures. And the French warmonger, Napoleon Bonaparte, said best. He said, history is a corporation of big lie. And that's the reality. All this system is built on falsehood. Every textbook in every nation. Full of garbage, full of nonsense. Because the corruption starts from the scripture of intellectualism. Any dictionary you go, it is the same thing you'll see. But it's a French dictionary, any dictionary that represents any language. What is hidden in those dictionaries are the criterion that allow government to do what they do. You'll see the same game happening in the courtrooms. Lawyers and prosecutors face off, battling through intellectualism, in the framework of intellectualism, where a criminal, one who's truly guilty for an act, can be acquitted through intellectualism. One who's innocent can be found guilty through intellectualism. The injustices of society done within the framework of intellectualism. Every nation you go to in this world, you'll see the middle class, the lower class, and those above. The rich, the poor, and those in the middle. Humankind divided through class and category, through the framework of intellectualism. They divide people. All the systems do the same thing. They divide people. Dehumanizing their fellow human being. So genocide can be justified. Atrocity can be justified. Government do the same. So warfare can be justified. All through the manipulation of words. You take a life on your own, by yourself, that's a crime. But when you do that within the framework of a government, what is a soldier or law enforcer, you can be labeled as a hero, as a soldier, and you can be promoted as law enforcer for taking a life, committing the same act. Word manipulation of words. Crime is a crime. Murder is a murder. Taking a life doesn't matter whether it's a capital punishment or committed by a criminal. It's the same act. But it's condemned outside the framework of the system and honored within the system. Through the fallacy of intellectualism. Religion do the same. All justified. All the scriptures of this system. The dictionary, the scripture of intellectualism, which is the foundation of governments. Religious scriptures, which is the foundation of religions. All that allow this system to commit the crime or the injustice that they have inflicted to humanity, all is hidden within these written books. All corrupted to their core. It's a formula of disaster. It's a formula of deception. Formula of destruction. Where criminality is justified. No act of murder can be justly justified in the court of moral righteousness. And injustice cannot be justly justified in the court of moral righteousness. We need to come with our senses as humankind and treat each other humanly. Why not by the framework of this corrupted system? That are not functioning for the greater good of humanity. So dear friend, I think we're going to leave it here till next time. As always, till then, and God bless. And again, if you have the chance, go to the 5 elements. Take a trouble to see what it's about. Maybe you can find it interesting. Thanks again, and God bless.